Good afternoon, folks. It's back to development, and we are continuing with our look at player color choices. And with that, I'll let you see where we are. We've kind of moved these back to the way they were, but our options now in the game colors, we are bringing in our default settings. We have set this to actually load in the correct manner. These are obviously loading in the correct manner. So let's have a look at what we've done. So I have created the buttons, or I was working on the buttons to get them back to the way they were, kinda. But what we're going to have a look at now is our actual options. Right, so we're going to need to have a look at our controller for the menu, which I'm going to take you through in a minute, the changes made. And then we're obviously going to have a look at options and what we've done here. Okay, so this is the color settings at the moment, which we are going to have to make quite a few changes to, but we can do that as we go through this, right? So if we look in the first instance, what I have done is I've set up display colors, okay, and I have written a couple of functions, one which is to set the button style, and then the other is to set the hovered style, right, where we in this one we pass in the button that needs to get set up. This one we set up the style of the button. So we do that for the hovered, right? So that takes care of this part here where we hover over it and these buttons here, right? So we have done that, and we have also done the part where we actually, if we look at the options here and in the event graph, we'll be able to tidy up all this mess in a moment. But as you can see, when we start up, we set up the display colors, okay? Now, there's one more thing that we need to discuss, and that is I have set up a save file for the overall game options, okay? And basically what that does is it creates a save game reference from the options, this one here. So I set up a new save game data file, which only at the moment has the colors, but if there's any generic settings that are used across all games, we can set that up here, right? Then we obviously have our save slots. So basically it checks to see if this file exists. If it doesn't exist, then it creates a new object, puts it into the options, and then saves the game to slot. If it does exist, then we just load it, okay? And then we carry on as normal. So that is the basic changes. So what we can do is, when we actually load or continue a game, we can load in these settings, right? Hey, Kofi, how are you today? Hope you're well. So, in effect, that's what we're doing, right? Now, I haven't done it yet because I wanted to let you guys see it, but we should now be able to do this rather than all of this. Okay? So when a player sets a hovered style, then they'll do this. Okay? So let's try it, shall we? So if we do this, and we drag this, I'm good, Kofi. We're doing well today. We've got most of the system for this set up, so we should be able to make a decent bit of progress from now on. All it'll be doing is basically setting up each of the different display items. Right, so we're doing this, and this is for the hovered. So we'll do the hovered first and check that it works fine. Right? So, in theory, we should be able to go into game colors, and if we click on this and change it to red, now we have our red. Okay? And that's basically exactly what we want. Now, we aren't saving that yet, but we can do that in a second. Right? But basically what that means is that this can all go and this can all go, and there you go. Okay, and we can also do the same thing here. Now this function can go, the button that we're doing is this one. Okay, we can basically drag that into there. We can put this here, then we say, we undo that. Oh, I've given you inspiration to make a game again. Oh, that's cool. Have you got an idea in mind, or I've just given you inspiration to start mucking around with Unreal Engine or Unity or whatever it is that you want? So basically, this is the unhovered version. So if we now test this, we can go to options, game colors. Now you'll notice that we didn't save that, but we are going to save it in a minute, so don't worry. So we'll change this to, let's say, green. So blue, green, blue, green, blue, green. Okay? So that is exactly what we want. We can exit that again. Which means that this can go, these can all go, and these can all go. And you can see already that things are looking pretty okay. Or a lot better and a lot tidier than they were. Right? So we can actually drag this down now. And well, we may as well discuss this because this is the actual thing that does the hovered and unhovered. So it just basically took out the spaghetti and split it up into a tidier function. And that's what basically did that, right? So I am really tempted at this point to add a variable here, which is called temp new color, and it's going to be a linear color. Now this is just going to, this is for the sake of basically tidying up the whole thing, right? Because what I can do here now is set this basically drag it into there, drag this into here, okay, and now we have a variable that we can actually use it fundamentally everywhere. Now the actual thing we've done wrong here is we've did that, and this should be in here. Okay, and now what we can do is we can get temp new color. We can basically pop it in there. And then we can drag it in here. We can do, so this is a bit of tidying up really, but that's okay. Straighten that, then drag it into here. And then straighten to reroute. Right, and then what we can do is we can drag this into a position where we can do these as well. Should have grabbed that at the time, but not to worry. Hey Shikama, are you along to learn something, are you? So what we're going to do now is we're going to duplicate that and then we're going to plug this in here. We're going to plug that in there and we're going to plug that in there. We're going to drag that up a bit. Then we're going to move this into line. And we're going to delete that and that. And now things are beginning to look pretty good. We can delete that and that and that. And here we can drag these down a bit give it a bit more space. And the same with this bit here. And we can drag in our temp color. And we can pop it in there. And we can pop it in there. And we can pop it in there. Shouldn't have done that, but anyway. What I should have done was kill that, pop that in there, we can delete that, then we can straighten to there. Okay. We can do the exact same thing over here. If we drag this up a bit. And as you can see, things are beginning to look a heck of a lot tidier. So Kofi, have you got an idea for your game? So we'll duplicate that. We'll drag it down here. And obviously we plug it in there. Then we plug that in there. And then we plug that in there. No, Kofi. So we finally do this. We plug that in there. We plug that in there. We plug this in here. Then we save this. Right, so we no longer have spaghetti, things are looking better, and it's actually a lot easier to manage now. Things are looking good. The only thing now is we need to save we basically need to save it. Okay. So this is the bit that saves it. Okay, so this no longer, actually it is, this is right. Okay. So this needs to change because we're no longer doing this. Okay, we no longer do this because we don't need it in an instance, right? So we can delete that. Then we can go to our instance and we can remove it from that. Yes, that's exactly what it is, Shikama. It's a long, painful, problem-solving adventure. That's exactly what it is. You've maybe finally grasped the concept of what it is to make a game. Right, so the next thing here is we need to remove these player colors, right? Because we no longer want this saved in an instance, because we're actually saving it in a save file, okay? Along with any other generic settings that we come up with. So that's all great and good, right? Now, we could do this in two different ways, right? Now, obviously, if we go back to our options, this is where it updates, okay? Now, what we could do is we could save it here, which means that every time a person saves or changes a value in any of the display items or a color, then we save it. I don't know what you're getting at, Shikama. It's an engine that allows you to build things. It doesn't build things for you. Right, that's like playing Minecraft, but expecting it to do everything in the game for you. And which company says that they're fully integrated with Unreal Engine? I've never heard a company say that, but there you go. Right, so for the purposes of testing, we are going to stick it here. Okay, so basically what we're going to do yeah, that's because Epic bought them. So most of those other companies are integrated with Epic, which means they start integrating more closely to Unreal Engine. Hence why you get Quixel plugins. It's not very difficult to understand. Right, so once we've saved this, once we set this to a new value, then basically we want to do a save game to slot. Well, have you ever considered the fact that maybe you're doing it wrong? And we use the same save game ref. Right? So, what we can do now is test it. So if we go to our game colors, right, and let's say our normal color is green, right, now that's already should have saved it. So if we go back and we exit the game, Well, it's surprising how many people can't actually follow a video. You'd be surprised. In fact, if you go on any forum or Discord for basically any tutorial video, every single one of them has people saying that bits don't work. Which means that people can't actually follow videos. It's everywhere. They'll make a little mistake and then they'll blame the fact that it doesn't work. Right? And the problem with that is they don't know how to fix it. So if we go back to options and go to game colors, voila, you'll see that our values have changed. So we have actually saved these. Okay, so the next simple answer now is if we change our info panel to red, that should have saved as well, right? So if we exit the game and we come back in, we go to game colors and this is red. Now this is red, but this isn't, right? Which I kind of understand, and that's because I haven't actually done this yet. Right? We have updated this, but we haven't updated this. Or sorry, we have updated the buttons and this widget, but we haven't updated this widget. We have done the buttons, but we haven't done this. Okay? So, we need to do that. So, when we look at, the thing we're going to look at now is when it comes in and says set up display, right? Which is at the top here. To set up display colors, we haven't set up our other values, right? We've set up the buttons, these are the buttons, but we haven't actually set up the actual widget to have those buttons set. Okay? But that's okay because remember we have a function to do it. Right? So all we need to do is go back and look at what we did before, wherever that was, and it was in the event graph, right? So we look in here at how we set these up when we do it. So we update the colors for the item, right? So we're already doing this. But this is the part that we haven't done yet, right? So what we can do is, that's the button style, this is the brush. Okay, so fundamentally what we could do here is just do this, copy this, right? And if we go to our setup display, right, where is it? We need to go to our event graph here. Go to event construct. We set up our display colors. Right, where the hell is it? Alright, set up display colors. Now you know what? Here it's here. Right. So in here we can do this. Right? But we need the color. Okay. And this should actually go. I'm trying to do this so that the different sort of functions are together, right? So this is going to go here, in between here. So we do that, then we do that. We do that, and then we get the color from that. And there we go. Now remember, this is only setting up our default colors, right? So if we remember rightly, we turned this to red, I believe. And now that's red. Okay? So that was the point of that particular little bit of code. Right? So we'll carry on and do the last two. And then we'll probably name these in a better way or do something that is sort of better. Like put comments around these to say what each one is. Okay. So we'll drag this to here. And now we have the next one. So we know the next one is going to go in between these two, right? So the next part is, if we go back to our event graph, right, we know that we can basically do this. This is basically color on opacity. We paste it in there. We set it up. Okay, and then the final one, we put it in here. We can drag that a bit closer and save that. We can go back to our event graph and we can check on this one. And again, I don't think we needed that, but we can check it anyway. Like, I think this could have went straight into here. Apparently not. but it can here. For some reason, for a button you can do it, but for a text you can't, which is fine. We're not going to complain too much about that. So this is basically our default for setting up the display from our save settings. We're now saving the settings. So what we can do now is we can basically go in here and make it some weird colors. We can do this as purple. Let's say we can do this as dark blue. Right, so we've got all these colors. This one's working. We've changed the color here. We've changed this button to the dark blue, etc, etc. It's already automatically saving. So we can actually exit the game, press play again, and if we go into the options and game colors, everything is reset back up the way we done it, right? So you can see this is red, this is purple, this is blue, this is hovering and not hovering. Basically exactly how we want it. But we don't have it in the game yet, right? Because we were using the other systems to do this. Okay, but on the plus side, this is going to be a really easy fix. Okay, so what we can do is, if we go now to our actual controller, now we know for an absolute fact that that file does exist, right? Because it's created in, hi Tryhard Studio, how you doing? Right, so what we'll do in this case is we will do load game from slot, right? It's going to be FE options, then we're going to cast it to save data options, and then in our player colors right, we're going to set this we're going to say colors, get OP colors, option colors, that is, right? And we can basically plug it straight in here. Okay. And in theory, what? FE controller. Player colors. Eh? You what, mate? You what? Right, okay. So we kind of can't do that. Ah, I've cast it to the wrong thing. Oh, we don't get game instance. What? Right, okay, okay, okay. Basically, we don't do that. Okay. Save that. Right, that's better. And we basically don't need this anymore. Okay. So we're good with that. And this should actually work. And apparently not. Am I doing something weird here? Where I'm setting these colours or something somewhere else? I don't think so. Okay. Add breakpoint. Ah, okay. Right, I think we need to do a I think we need to do a new game. I think it's not going to work with yeah. We had something weird going on there. Right, so we need a new game. Wait a minute. We need to do this. Right, so it's set back to its normal. So what we'll do is set it to purple. We'll set the border colour to green. We'll have this as white. And we'll have the closed border as, or the closed button as red. Right. Right. And we're doing a new game. So let's call it new game, shall we? And if we step over. Now, there is something interesting there, because the menu hovered doesn't say hovered. Did you see that? Right, which kind of scares me a bit. And that's probably why we're getting this error here. Right. Which suggests that our save data options isn't quite right as a default, but it does appear to be. That's unhovered. Info screen border, info screen text, and that. Okay, so our default file is correct at this point. So what we'll do is we shall delete the save file again, right? So everything is going to go back. We'll dismiss this for now. We'll come back to here. Now, the interesting thing that I want to see here is not that, but in here, when we update the colors, menu unhovered, menu hovered, when we do this, I want to have a look at this. Okay. So we go in here, and that's working okay, right? But if I change this to, let's say, a dark blue, right, and then we go to OP colors, it's not letting me see it. Damn it. Okay, we'll add a breakpoint there. So we shall resume. Okay, and we'll change it again. It's not going to give us this array, is it? It's just not. I think we'll have to print it out. Resume. Resume. So it's purple. So let's take a look at it again. And this should break, which it does. Then we can step over. And for some reason, our first value does not say game menu hovered. Right, so basically that's going to error. Now that is bizarre. Now, right, so if I press play again, right, and I do this, I'm just wondering if we resume that, so we've got purple and green, right? But my expectation here is that if we continue, now the first two will be not have the correct thing. But no, that's okay. So the only one it's happening with is the game menu hovered, which is bizarre. Really bizarre. Okay. So let's try something a little different, shall we? I'm just wondering here. Let me see this message list. Game main menu. Right, why is this even trying to go in here at this point? Because that shouldn't even be called yet. Right, it's getting called here. So why is it even here and it's called? That is a weird one. Right, but what I was going to do was I was going to go back into options, right? And what I was going to do is basically take it from here. So we shall save that. I'm going to delete all the files again. So mouse over, then that. Game menu hovered. So we know that's game menu hovered. Resume that. Resume that. I'm thinking this might actually be the issue solved. Right, so it's red. So if we create a new game again, step over, and it's not. For whatever reason, our hovered is not getting set. Well, that is a really strange one, guys. Super strange. Right, now we're going to do a little bit of an investigation here. But first of all, we're going to grab a cigarette. So guys, I shall be back in 2 minutes time. So check the description for links and stuff, and I'll see you back in a couple of minutes. Okay guys, we're back, and I have deleted the saved games again. So what we're going to do is we're going to run with the default. Okay? We're not going to change anything in the settings, and then we're going to see what this is when it sets up. Okay? So, with that in mind, let's go. Hey Erop, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you back. Hope you're well. Right, so we're not going to change any of the options this time. What we're going to do is we're just going to go straight into a new game and OK it. Right, and then we're going to see if it is our changing of the options that actually screws it up, or if it's screwed up to begin with. Right, so if this does not say hovered, then we've got a problem when it default sets up. So we have a problem when the default sets up. Okay? So we can do this in a couple of ways to sort this. Okay? Now, the issue here is this thing. Okay? And we could bin all these, right? And save it. And then in our controller, okay, so that's going to return nothing. So what we'd do in between times would be that we set this. So OP so we say colors, but it's not that. So we get this, then we say colors, right? And then what we could do here is make array, and at the moment we're adding 5, right? So we can do that. Then we can say blue to that one. Alright, so we can just make these. Okay. So making a bit of a mess of this, but anyway, right. So if we do that, we can see item border, text, then we can duplicate that, and we can set these to the same color. Now this is just the settings we had in the other version of what we did. This is just a slightly different way of doing it. Right, we're making the array after we actually set everything up. and then we're basically setting this as the default manually. And then we just put that in there. Okay, and this should be white. Wait a minute. So that should be 1. That should be 1. Be 1. Now I'm just going to make sure that all of these have an alpha of 1. I'm pretty sure they do. Yep. Let's just check. Let's just make sure. What have I added to the game today? I'm still working on the colour choices, but really eking out the system so it's easier to implement. Right, but one of our values is coming back as nothing, which is the hovered version. This hovered, and somebody outside has decided that they want to peep their horn a lot. Right, so we can save that, and we need to go and make sure that our file is empty again. So I'm just, when I move it off the screen, basically what I'm doing is I'm going into the save games and deleting them all so that it resets itself up. Okay, so now it should have set itself up. And we have nothing. So that's kind of weird. Right, so that's still going to give us that error because of that, right? Now, I'm going to have to go in and delete this again. Right, but in here, now, what we're going to do here is we're going to try a couple of things. We're going to break this here, right? And there's a problem. This is in completely the wrong place. Right, this is in completely the wrong place. Because it didn't actually do this. FE options. It should actually be in here. Right, so this was complete and utter bollocks. So we shall copy that. And I'm really scared now that I've completely ballsed this up. Not that it'll take much to get back together, but we're gonna do that. And yeah, it's of no wonder that this wasn't working. Yeah. Yeah, this was complete and utter rubbish. So let's get the crap out of there, because it is absolute nonsense. Because this is creating the slots. Duh. So basically, I think we can ignore this, per se. I think what we can actually do here is go back in here and add those 5 things back in. Right? That was just complete and utter nonsense of what I'd done. Okay, so we'll dismiss that. So unhovered is going to be white. So yeah, that was just complete and utter bull crap. It just shows you guys, if you get right into the coding and you don't realise that what you've actually done is complete and utter nonsense. At a much higher level, and you don't actually realise what's going on. And it's because you're not even in the right part of the code. So, with that in mind, let's carry on. So, basically, in here, this should now be set properly, okay? And then it isn't going to get flaffed about with on the save slots, right? Because the save slots should just be doing the save slots. There should be nothing to do with the color options at all, right? So if we save that and make sure that this is saved, so we have to start a new game, right? And now I'm hoping that that issue has been resolved, except it freaking hasn't. It's still got that error. You see how it hasn't got the... That is Gordon Bennett weird. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one, right? And then I'm going to add one at the end. And I'm going to say menu hovered, right? And let's see if that makes any difference. We're going to have to delete our save game again. Did I delete that before? I don't know. But this is decidedly weird. If we resume, it's still not working. It is still not working properly. A very interesting problem, one has to say. It definitely has its game menu hovered, right? But for some reason it's getting set to nothing for the first one. Now we do load up the options, right? Now I am just wondering, none of this gets hit, okay? Let's remove that, right? And we shall run it again. Right, and we'll move this breakpoint over to here because we don't really need it there. Okay. And we'll resume it, and it's still not right. Now this is absolutely bizarre. well, if anybody in the chat has any ideas, feel free, because this is absolutely freaking bizarre. I've got absolutely no idea what's going on here. Yeah, I don't have an idea here either. I've got... I mean, I'm not setting up anything here, right? It's never going into this code here because you have to hit a button. Yeah? For it to do any of that. Now, the only thing I can think of is if I stick a breakpoint here, right? But it shouldn't hit that code, right? Let me just check again. Right, we've deleted that folder. So you can see that we've not hit anything, right? We've not hit code that updates. Right, but if we resume, it's going to give us an error, right? Because we know that this isn't working right. And there's the errors, okay? So it's simply not setting this up properly, right? But we did set it up properly. If we go back into here, right, we can set this up as hovered. We can pick that, right? So it's hovered, unhovered, info screen border, info screen text, and close button. Okay, and the only one that we don't want here is going to be white, right? So that's going to be 1, 1, 1. Okay, that. Okay, so this is our default. And this is so we can see if it comes up again with the problem of not having the default settings. Right? So what we can do is, if we actually come into here, okay, and we're creating this thing. So if we drag off here and say colors, we can get the colors, right? And we can do for each then we can break this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a breakpoint here so that we can see what this is at this particular point in time. Right? Then we can say append. Right? We can add a couple of pins. Then we can say the menu item, bit of a space, then the color, right? And then we can print string. Okay. So we can drag that into there. And we can drag this into here. And that's going to let us see. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to delete that. And we're going to do the complete into here. Okay, so we've nothing in our folder, okay, for options. So there we go. Okay, came straight in here. OP colors. It's got nothing again. Right. Okay. Let's do something wacky. Right. What we'll do is we'll set array element. Right. And we'll set the item. It's index 0. We're going to make that, and then we're going to make it blue. Okay? And then we're going to go into here. Then we're going to go into here. Save that. Right? We're going to delete that. And then we're going to run it again. Okay. And it's still nothing. Right, hang on a second here. Is it? Is it in fact? We'll put this up for 30 seconds. Save that. Delete our stuff again. Press play. We'll resume that. It has got hovered now. Okay, so if we go new game, blah blah blah. Okay. Resume that. It's not working. I don't understand. I do not understand this. Right, so what we'll do is we'll copy this. We'll go into our controller. We'll paste that. Right. And this is going to go into here. And this is going to go into here. And then that is going to go into there. Right. And give me a second, guys, I'll be right back. I've just got to pop to the loo. Okay, guys, we're back. So let's carry on with this and not bother with unzip. So we'll need to delete out our stuff again. So we've deleted that. We resume. Then we resume again. Right, so we've got all our values here. Right, definitely those values are there when we created it. Okay, so in effect, something must be changing it somewhere. Okay. So if we click on new game and we OK it, then it's coming in here and it's going to do the same thing again, and there it's there. Right, but for some reason we've got an error in our branch for item color. Right, so we close that down. Return display item color. Okay. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Well, this is kind of wrong, isn't it? Yeah, this is kind of wrong. Right, so we need a new thing here. Right, now we have player colors, so we're setting player colors. Okay. Now this is in our controller. So in effect, that gets deleted. We're not looking at the instance anymore. Right. So this is player colors. Well, that is completely... I mean, the fact that it had nothing for the hovered was bizarre on its own, which was throwing me down the wrong path completely, right? But anyway, so we shall dismiss that. We shall have a quick check on the football scores. If anybody's interested, full time Crystal Palace 1, Brentford 1, Fulham 2, Brighton 1. Good result for Fulham there. Currently we're in injury time. It's Southampton 2, Chelsea 1. Bit of a disaster for Chelsea. And Leeds Everton 1-1 after 75 minutes. So there's your little football update. And now we can delete all our stuff again. And check out how this goes. So I'm beginning to think that all this tomfoolery was for absolutely naught. Right? Because we definitely do have this colour here, right, for menu hovered, right? and I'm pretty much guaranteeing that now it's working. Yeah. And that just proves that I'm a complete dunce. Okay, mate, maybe that's a bit harsh on myself there, but you get the point. But it just shows you, that was what, an hour wasted mucking around with something that wasn't even an error, but kind of showed as an error. Bizarre. Anyway, what can you do, my friends? What can you do? So we shall bring that into line. We'll drag that up to there. And now we can select all of this and drag it across. There we go. So there you go, guys. There's how you completely muck something up without completely mucking it up. So this can all go. Right, and from that we shall once again delete everything just to make sure that it's actually still working when we do this. Because this part here, we did do a bit of manipulation, right? We did add our hover thing back in at this point. So we do want to actually make sure this is still working. We can disable that breakpoint. We can resume. And there we go. Okay, so yeah, there's that. So we had it right the first time. Unreal Engine decided to make it look like there was a problem, even though there wasn't. And now what we can do is, if we go into options again, we can do this. And save it. And we shall check it again, but we're going to have to do a delete on these again just to make sure everything is cool. Right? So if we go here, that's all working nicely. We can go back, then we can click new game and OK that, and yeah, cool, everything's working again. Okay, now if we stop this and run it again, then we shall actually change these around. So that, we can resume that, and we can disable this, resume, and then we can swap these around, resume. Right, so it's now white when we hover over it, right? We can go back and then we can continue, and there we go. Voila. So all of this now works, and it doesn't look as bad as it was before, right? Let's tidy that up a bit, and we shall straighten the connection to reroute node. Save that. Everything's looking good there. And basically what we need to do is just add our different display items, the ones that we want to change, right? So let's have a look at that and what we're actually going to have to change. So if I go to continue, so we're going to have to do this one, and it's going to have that, and we could do the highlight button on this, on the buttons, and the tooltip as well, and the scroll bar color, I suppose. Right, now the conveyors are going to be very, very similar. It's basically going to be the same setup, right? I mean, the research, I'm a bit on that, what ones we do. Suppose we could change the color in the tooltip. We could change the background color, I suppose. Maybe that's going to like make it look crap though, if we do that. Then we've got the grid. Suppose we could do something with that. You've got the grid and the position. Then same for the probes, I suppose. Could do that. And then once we do something with the power and the stats and or the vehicles, then we could do something with that. Yeah, for the vehicles it's going to be something like this, except it's going to be, I think I'm going to change the vehicles to be like rocket weaponry. Okay. And I didn't mean to do that. So like there'll be things like this, the gun, you know, setting up a gun. So there'll be different things from there. We'll see, but that's the idea. Then obviously actually we've got this from the inventory. Okay, anything with a blur, we could possibly let them change the blur. Okay, so either there's a blur, loads of blur, or no blur. We could give them a slider, right? We could also possibly do like the background color of the thing here. It's a possibility. Then we've got our resupply, which, you know, buttons, border, text, kind of the same one. And then we need to do it for like the warehouse and stuff. So in effect, if we build a refiner, right, we could do something with this. Well, we're definitely, this is the one we've got, right? So basically you can change the settings of this. Okay, so for example, if we stop this for now, right, that's weird. Okay, that's not weird because we're still using the game instance. So we can delete that. We can delete that. Then we can say colors. Right? Then this plugs straight into here. And that's that fixed. So basically everything that was using the game instance, we want to basically kill it. Stone dead. Because we're not using the game instance anymore, right? So that's that sorted. Luckily enough, we've not taken it any further than that. Each of these other things, the other windows, are going to have the same code. But yeah, that's just a matter of doing it over time. So on that point, I think we shall call it on this stream. We shall be back at 8 PM Central. We shall be carrying on with this. I don't know how much I shall do off stream. I'll probably do something, but I don't know how far I'll take it, and that'll be us. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the subscribe button, check out the description. You'll find my Discord, which you're welcome to join, my Patreon, which will get you in the credits of the game, and my previous game on Steam. So thanks for joining me, and bye for now.